comes from Wright State, where they went to the program's first NCAA tournament win this season, and the only 3 Horizon League championship in school history. And she has won the Horizon League Coach of the Year 3 times, and she is now here in Memphis. She did some amazing thing at Wright State. She played at Cincinnati, so she knows a little bit about Memphis from the playing side of things on the other side, but now she's crossing over to the Tiger side.
Yes, so let's welcome in Coach Merriweather. We're so excited to have you on Rise and Grind this morning. How are you doing?
Well, good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are y'all?
We're great. It's a Friday, right? We made it through the week, so no complaints over here.
So for you, we'll just start. How have these last couple of weeks been for you since getting hired as the new head coach of the University of Memphis women's team?
Well, the excitement hasn't ended. I'm still meeting everyone. The best part is we got to do a little community service as a team yesterday, part of Keep Tennessee Beautiful. And I think that was a good start to us doing something away from basketball. But we have gotten to do some workouts, and I'm really excited about the players that we have here. Again, just taking some time to get to know them, spending time together.
Now, you've been here for a few weeks now, and, as I mentioned, you played at Cincinnati. Did you know anything about Memphis as a city, and have there been any surprises about the city since you've been here this past month?
There has not been any surprises at all. I've eaten a couple places, and so the food has fit the bill. So that part's been good. I do have a little bit of family here, so I've gotten a chance to see them. Memphis is just a great city, and I think that it has plenty of entertainment, but more importantly, the energy that I keep feeling every time I go somewhere and being recognized and saying, hey, congratulations, cannot wait to see your team play. And I think that that's probably been the greatest part for me. It's just people being so invested already and interested in what we're going to do this season.
Yeah, the city just has such a good vibe, and obviously this is a city that cares tremendously about basketball, and everyone is so excited for you to come in and to hopefully turn some things around with the women's basketball team. It's been a minute since they made it to the NCAA tournament, but I know you're a coach with a winning attitude that comes from your playing days. You've continued that on through coaching, but what specifically do you think that you bring to this Memphis team that can help take it to the next level?
Well, I think the best part is just building relationships. I think that when I talk to them and they tell me some things that they're looking for in their experience, I think that they just want to be related to. I think that they want to be understood. In this generation, especially just the untimeliness of the pandemic, the impact that it had, the social injustices, even these conversations that are being had. There's just more than basketball that we have to pay attention to as college coaches now. And I know that wasn't a part of my experience. Like, we came in, we went to school, we went to practice, and then everything else was pretty much smooth. But this generation has so many more distractions with technology and social media that I think that what I hope is that, as I've been told, I'm a player's coach. And I intend on always being that and being here for them in a way that helps develop them and grow them outside of basketball.
And what has it been like, especially as you mentioned, with just going through what we've gone through in this past year with the pandemic and social justice, to come in to a new program as the new head coach? What is it like to coming in during a pandemic and to kind of have all of those outside things? Because it's not like coming into a program where you can have access to everything and walk around, and there's so many restrictions. I know you're used to that because you just left Wright State, but coming in as a new head coach, has that been any type of issues, or what's the positives from it, and then the negatives?
Well, there's a lot of challenges, but it's the same challenges that every coach has all over the country, where we can't go where we want or have team functions the way that we're used to. I think what it took away more than anything was our ability to bond as a team, whether it's going to an escape room or going to an arcade and just having some time where we can decompress. And with those places being closed, or it just not being suggested that we obviously go out in public that way when we're trying to have a season, I think that was the toughest part. But what it does do is it forces us to deal with each other. Like, we put cell phones down, we, sit in circles and have conversations that I don't know that we would normally have, because everyone would have so many more things to do. One thing that I recall from this past season is the celebrations are different. when you win conference tournaments or regular season championships or whatever the case may be, you're used to all the family and friends coming down. And as much as we missed that, we were like, hey, we're here. We celebrate with each other, the people that actually put in the work every day. So there are positives to it, but I would argue that there's been more challenges for coaches across the country for sure this past year.
It's been a year of adapting for everyone, and that certainly filters into college athletics as well. Let's talk a little bit about your journey that got you here. Like Megan mentioned, you played college basketball at Cincinnati, so kicking it back to those old Conference USA days, you used to play here in Memphis. What do you remember about some of those times coming in here in Memphis and playing ball?
Well, again, you want to talk about untimely events. I came into college right around the time that LaTanya Johnson and Tamika Whitmore were seniors and juniors. And so I remember those battles with Kitty and my point guard, Jolinda and Doris Scott, like all these names. And I'm just a freshman sitting on the bench like, whew, this is a different level. And so it's kind of a familiarity of when Memphis women's basketball was extremely dominant in the conference. In regards to the gym, I remember there was a fan that sat on the bottom row, and I mean, he cheered, if you want to call it cheering, the entire game. And I just remember sitting on the bench like, my God, he's going to talk for the full 40 minutes. And now I'm thinking myself, because we didn't have media timeouts or TV timeouts. Like, you just had to play straight through. And to have someone that close to the bench that was just heckling you the whole time. So that's who I remember. I remember that guy and just the competitiveness of the league and obviously how great Memphis was back in those days when I was playing.
You talk about how great Memphis was back in those days. When this job came to your lap and came, the opening came to your table, what was it about the program and your interviews and your meetings that you're like, oh, I definitely want to now go to the Tigers? Because I would have thought like, oh, you played at Cincinnati, we're rivals, you don't want to come here. But obviously there was something about this program and this group that made you want to come.
Well, I was taught early in my career that it's people that make a place. And so when I got on the phone with Laird and Lauren, and then I got an opportunity to meet President Rudd and then Coach Hardaway, some of the Board of Trustees members, it was just so apparent their commitment to women's basketball, how they were really wanting to go in a direction where they felt like we could compete nationally, that not just at the top of this league, but that with given the right resources and energy that we could continue to move forward. And I think that was the most attractive part. And then you get on Synergy and you take a look at this team and the work that the previous coaches have done in maintaining and building a foundation for this program. And I can't say it enough, like the pandemic hit us all hard. And I just don't think that last year's record was indicative of the talent on this team. And I don't think it was indicative of the effort and energy that the coaching staff gave to the program. And I really do believe that we have a chance to do something special here. And it's just evident by all the people that I met and the ones that support the program.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of support here and so ready to feed into Memphis women's basketball. And that's not the case everywhere. There's not always that same level of intensity and energy surrounding a women's program. And here in Memphis, like, people are so hungry for that. Have you felt that in terms of connecting both within the athletic department and even, I know you've had a lot of support from Penny Hardaway and the men's side of things too?
Absolutely. And I think that's such a critical relationship. Anytime that the men's and women's programs can work side by side and they both are invested in the success of each other's programs, I think that's just a special situation. And I've been fortunate because I've had that. I'll say a lot of things are very fortunate. I think success has a lot to do with you, of course, but just the positions that you get put in and the people that you're surrounded by. And so when I talked to Coach Hardaway, he kept talking about, hey, let's elevate this place. Let's make this department all that we know that it can be. His investment is not just in men's basketball or football, women's basketball. He cares about the entire department. He cares about Memphis. And I think that's obvious too anytime you listen to him talk.
Yeah, definitely. I saw on your Twitter page that you also spoke to the football team. Coach Silverfield had you speak to the football team. When you have that support, not just from the basketball side of things, but all the sports coming together and saying, like, welcoming you and also wanting their athletes to hear more of your story. What have those introductions been like as well?
Well, it's just very welcoming. You come here and everyone's like, "Hey, we're hugging, air hugging, of course, because of our social distancing, but just conversation after conversation. How can I help? From everything from selecting benefits to the best restaurants, and I think that it just means a lot. You can tell that there's a family atmosphere here. That everyone is just invested in each other's success. How proud are we right now of women's soccer? Going to the NCAA tournament, and I'm trying to keep up with all the new teams and new coaches, but we've got people setting records, track and field, and golf is doing some awesome things. And I don't know, when I think about it, it just is nice to have everyone be on the same page about cheering for each other and elevating the department as a whole.
Yeah, we love to hear that, and we want all Memphis sports to be successful, and we're so excited for your part in that. Coach Merriweather, I'm curious, when did you know you wanted to be a coach? It's obviously something that has now led you here to Memphis, but do you remember the day in your playing career where you were like, oh, this is something I want to do?
Well, it was really cool because my dad has had this youth mentoring program for 30 years, and it's kind of gone through cycles of when we started it, it was T-shirts and iron-ons, which you'll be interested to know that the very first iron-on shirt was the Bedford Riverside Pistons for William Bedford, who played here, obviously, when it was Memphis State. And so he donated to our very first set of uniforms. And then since then, it has grown into one of the top programs in the country, EYBL. And now it's kind of back around to how it was in the beginning. And he put me in a position to be a mentor. My dad did. And the way that the gyms were set up, we would all work out all Sunday. And so you could stay all day if you wanted, or you could come in with your age group. And so you had an opportunity to be mentored and to be a mentor. And I get to college and I'm like, this is the coolest job ever. So I'm helping him coach grassroots basketball. I'm paying attention to the coaches that I have. I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely what I want to do. So at 19 years old in my sophomore media guide, it says that my dream is to be a Division I college coach. So that's pretty much when it was solidified.
And so speaking of solidify, I feel like in the press release when they announced you as the next head coach, all the statements and all the quotes from the athletic director to the president, all of them said that what was super important was that how you connected even just with the players, but also how academics was just as important as the athletic part of it. You got your degree in English literature and you earned your second degree in secondary education. When as a coach and you're talking to your players, especially on the recruiting side of things, how important is for players and their families to know that, yes, basketball is important, but education is also important as well?
I think it's just keeping it all in perspective, right? The reality is that women's basketball players don't make the same amount of money as men's basketball players. And as much as we're fighting for equity, we're just not there yet. And so your degree and the education that you receive is what's going to set the stage for you in the next 40 plus years of your life. And we have to keep that in perspective, no matter how many tweets you get, followers you have, no matter how many games you win, ultimately, and especially for women right now. And again, we all hope that it grows and develops and everything gets better. But for right now, your education is the single most important thing for us to make sure that we receive while we're in college.
I love that. That's always a good piece of advice for everyone to remember. And Coach Merriweather, you mentioned it, the thought that the pandemic really held this team back a little bit last year. And we saw that happen to teams across the country. It's just been a tough year period. But what excites you about this roster that you've now inherited, and how do you hope to build it out as well?
Well, everybody talks about talent, and we just had this conversation as a team yesterday, early on, when I'm young, I'm so attracted to talent and athleticism. And then you grow as a coach and you want to get into productivity. And so I think what is really cool about this team is when I express that to them, and we set different goals for different drills when we are in practice and trying to get them to go at a pace that they claim they want to play at. Because everybody wants to play fast, but everybody's not committed to doing what it takes to play that fast. And when I say those things to them, I can see the determination in their face. They're like, oh no, we want to play fast, so we'll do whatever it takes for us to do that. And that's what excites me the most about the ones that are here. And then the ones that are not here, taking the time to get to talk to them too, whether it's via FaceTime or over the phone, and they're excited and their energy is exactly where it needs to be. Coach, can't wait to get there. Can't wait to meet my team. Can't wait to get to work. And that is what has me the most excited is their willingness and the way that they've explained their love for the game. And that's going to make them very easy to coach.
And as we get ready for the next season, part of the game, one of the biggest challenges that coaches have all discussed and faced is this transfer portal. And yes, the NCAA has adjusted certain rules due to the pandemic. As a new head coach coming into a program and you already have such a great talented roster, what do these next few weeks look like for you? And what's your take on this transfer portal? Because we've talked to a couple of coaches and talking about how long the list is and how it changes really much every single day.
It does. And here's the thing. You just have to change with the times. But I think that in this train of thought, I'm pretty old school. Of course, I didn't play a lot my freshman year at Cincinnati. So, of course, I wanted to leave. I'm like, well, she doesn't think I'm good or she doesn't see how good I am. I want to go to a place that understands that I can play and I love this game. And I just know that I'm such a better person and I became a better basketball player for sticking it out. And there are times when I think you should leave and find a different situation. And there is no blueprint for that. There's no magic wand you can wave or some psychic you can ask about, hey, is this the right move for me? And I just hate to see student athletes walking away instead of giving it a good old try. And I think that that's the hard part for me. However, I think that when you don't fit and sometimes things happen that you didn't expect and let's be realistic. Some people have family things. Like it's not just all about basketball. And so you have to be understanding that people are going to do what's best for them. And I'm okay with that. And I can leave you with this about it. If you want to be in this program, then stay. And if you're not so sure, then you should go. And I feel that way. And I think every coach feels that way. We want people who are invested in the program and have their feet exactly where they are. And if you can't manage to do that or you're not in a space to do that, you should absolutely explore your options. And I think every coach across the country would agree with that.
Yeah, it's absolutely a balance. It's so clear. You are so invested into this Memphis program. You're invested into the Memphis community. I remember from your opening press conference, you talked about how you didn't know how many ribs you needed to eat or how many times you had to go to Beale Street before you would become a Memphian. Did everyone make it clear that you don't have to go to Beale Street?
Kind of. But I had to try more restaurants than those on Beale Street. They told me that was a little touristy of me and that I was going to have to actually go just drive down Poplar, drive down Central, drive down all these different streets and just stop and eat at a restaurant the kids took me to. They're going to kill me for not remembering the name of the donut shop.
Gibson's.
There you go. So after we went to dinner one night, they were like, Coach, we need dessert. And so we ended up at Gibson's. And those were delicious too, those donuts. So I had one of those powdered donuts. But, I think that ultimately it's just embracing the culture that is Memphis, which it's diverse, and it's more than just the food. Obviously, it is sports and it's entertainment and it's just the people. And it's going to take a while for me to get to all these restaurants. I know that.
Well, what is the best meal that you've had so far? I mean, I think there's various options. I'm born and raised here, so there's so many, and there's still places that I have never eaten yet. So what's the best meal you've had so far?
Okay, so it's tough because it's, again, probably touristy, but BB King's was so good.
No, I agree. I think BB King's has great food. There are places on Beale Street that you can eat. And as coach, I moved here like 4-ish years ago. And Beale Street does have the touristy vibes to it. But there are hidden gems. BB King's, Blue City Cafe right on the corner. I agree with that.
Well, thank you. I had Soulfish Cafe too the other day.
That's a good one too.
That's
and
good.
So that was really good because who can get $15 salmon and it actually tastes like a $30 salmon? So what kind of place is this? And they had catfish dip. Who has catfish dip? So it was just really my introduction to, like you said, it's gonna be months before I even eat at the same place twice.
Trust me, this city, one thing that we do have is food, and there's so many various options. And as you mentioned, if you just go down Poplar will take you all the way from Cargieville to the river, so you can hit wherever you want to hit. And Poplar, we all have our mixed emotions about Poplar as a road.
Just avoid the potholes.
Yeah, and the middle lane thing is just it's always a lot.
That's still a learning.
It's always a lot,
for me.
right? It's always a lot. Now, what do the next couple weeks look like for you? Have you gotten a chance to move? Has it been like an whirlwind experience?
Oh, absolutely. But again, the people have been so awesome here. Laird and Lauren, what they've done is said, hey, I know you want to get here and get in a couple weeks of workouts before finals. So we'll put you up in a hotel. So I'm staying in the amazing Holiday Inn on campus that I've noticed has all sort of classes. And apparently it's where the hotel, restaurant, and management, I think, and tourism majors must do a lot of their work. And so it's just it's got this amazing second floor, that has all these quotes and there's all these people that I feel like I need to know that are important to Memphis. And I know that hotel has a name and I don't want to butcher it. But I've been walking around and reading all these amazing quotes from people who were born and raised in Memphis and or have given a lot back to the city. So that's where I'm staying for now. And then I'll go back home. I have a 1-year-old lab that I miss incredibly that I need to see as soon as possible. So I'll go back to Dayton. And then when I hit back this way, it'll be for good, probably around the end of May. So right now it's just a little back and forth, but I'll be settled here soon.
Well, hey, she's a lap, Jessica.
I watch dogs. If you ever need, I'm not trying to solicit my side business.
But you're
here,
you are the dog whisperer of Memphis. I'm just gonna I'm not a dog person, so
Megan will not watch your dog, but I would be happy to watch your lap sometime because I know you have to be so busy right now, and that's the biggest thing. It has to be basketball, but at the same time, you are experiencing a new city. You are a dog mom who will eventually get a dog here. How do you like to spend your free time, or what free time you do have?
Yeah. Now I will say I do like the zoo. I noticed that there was a botanical garden, so I'm kind of a museum-y, kind of nerdy type, I think. So anything that's like that's around here, I will eventually probably visit all of those deals. And it's just important to me. One thing that I love to do is find those places, and then we take the team to those places. My biggest regret in college was just not really leaving campus except to go to the mall. And I don't know that I took advantage of being in an actual city. And so one thing that I want to do is make sure I get my hands on every place I can get to. And then that way we'll turn around and we'll have some of those experiences with our team. And I'm excited for that too. So any of those things I'm game for, and I'm excited to get a chance to get to them.
Well, if you need any options or anything that you need suggestions, we got you covered. We'll tell you where to get your nails done, your hair done, the shopping, where to eat, where to just really pretty much do anything in the city. The city has you covered, and there's various options. Before we let you go, I want to talk about the history-making moment of this hire for you. You are the first African-American woman to lead the Lady Tigers. And what does that mean to you? 'Cause I know that you've talked and posted several times about all the trailblazers that have inspired you and have also led the way to have more programs hiring minorities, but also hiring minorities who are so qualified.
Thank you for saying that, because I think that the most important thing is that we are hiring people that are good fits for jobs. And I said this as soon as I spoke on the phone with Laird. I was like, Memphis is a Trina job, and it's in the city. It has an environment that I feel like that I can bring young people to where they can thrive and be comfortable and grow and develop. Being the first Black head coach is always going to be a big deal, because we have to have examples. We have to have these young people that say, oh, I can do this. And representation simply matters. And it's not just enough to be Black. It's not enough to be a woman. It is enough to be when you're qualified and when you fit. And I think that that's probably the most important message that I have is when I look at our young people, I want them to believe that they can do anything and not just stop at being basketball coaches. Why can't you be an administrator? Why can't you be a provost? The last 2 years I was in student affairs and higher education at Wright State, just because I wanted to get back in touch with what the experience was, for our student athletes. And I thought, man, nobody ever told me that I could be the vice president of student affairs. No one ever told me that I could be a dean of students. And I think that what we have to do is continue to push them and tell them you can be absolutely anything you want to be, and put people in front of them that look like them so that they know that it's actually possible. So it means a lot. And I'm super thankful to all those people you talk about, Coach Stringer, Don Staley, Carolyn Peck, that have set a path for us to be respected and for us to know, for people to know that we can do that job. So hopefully I can be the same thing for this next generation of young athletes that come behind me.
I think Memphis is so lucky that this was a Trina job, and we're so excited to see what you do with the Tigers going forward. And we'll have to have you back. We know it's early, and when the season gets going, it can be a little much, but we so appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this morning, and we're so excited for you.
Well, thank you. And I will come back anytime, and I'll be in touch about where to get my hair done and anytime that I need a dog sitter for Bailey. So thank y'all.
Perfect.
Excellent.
It was great to meet you, Coach Merriweather.
Great to meet y'all too. Thank you.
All right, everyone, stay tuned next season. I'm excited for next season already.
I'm super excited.
Yes, they have talking about like how captivating and moving, but inspiring. And I'm excited for the young athletes that are going to come into this program and the athletes that are there right now, and for what they can build off of. It seems as if this is a great hire, and it could go in the best direction.
There's so much fresh energy, right? Like just sitting here talking about the Memphis team ever since I've moved here, and this is no knock to where the program has been. They just haven't had a winning season in a while. Things just weren't working. And so you have to pump some fresh blood every now and then to turn something around. And just listening to her this morning, seeing, the conversations that she's had since coming into the city, it makes me really excited, because this is a city that breathes basketball, and there's no reason that the women's team at the U of M cannot be up there in that same conversation.
It's there. It's there if they want it.
Yeah.
You've got to put money behind it. You've got to invest in these programs. You can't just have athletic programs and at the D1 level and not invest in it and expect them to be successful. We see this with that same university and their football program. They started investing in it, and look at what ended up happening. Made a couple of good coaching hires, and now it's one of the premier group of 5 programs in the nation, and somebody who is knocking on the door constantly at that P6 title. Right? So invest in these women, and let's see what they can do with the proper investment. Now, I think I'm agreeing with you, Jessica. I think that this program could take off in a way that we haven't seen before.
It's only the beginning. It's only the beginning. Alrighty, it's only the beginning for the day.